Matt, I'm going to toss things off to you as you are going to lead things off as GM for us with the 4th overall pick. And then, James, you are going to go ahead and submit your player as first dibs after that as our special guest tonight. So, Matt, go ahead, take it away.
All right. Welcome, gentlemen, to the 2022 draft. I'm looking for playmakers right here. I want somebody that's going to make a difference. Who do you guys have?
All right. Well, before I submit my pick here to you, Matt, I appreciate you guys having me on. I follow you guys pretty closely, actually. I've been listening to the podcast for a while, and you both do a great job. Very detailed is exactly how I describe it. You don't get that draft content everywhere. So I appreciate you guys having me on. And I'm going to submit my pick. And this is not a homer pick to try to get on your guys' good side. This is, and I think it's been well known that I do think Sauce Gardner is up there in terms of elite prospect because we have to get someone that's going to be a difference maker. You're exactly right, Matt. But where we need the most help and ultimately where there is an elite talent at the position of need, given the board that we have here, I'm gonna submit Jermaine Johnson. And Jermaine Johnson, I think he is subject to a lot of criticism in certain areas. I think maybe analytically, recently we've seen certain numbers get thrown out there which try to take you off what you actually see on tape. And what you see on tape is a guy that fits this culture, right? He's a guy who's going to be 110 miles per hour every single play. And you want someone, obviously, that's going to be more than 110 miles per hour. He's going to be a guy that's going to affect the game, whether that's via his pass rush or his ability to set the edge in the run game and make, plays behind the line of scrimmage in more than one fashion. But I think the play that really embodies Jermaine Johnson, and I'll set this up kind of like I'm in the war room here. There's 2 minutes and 36 seconds left in that, Miami game, and Florida State's down. And they run a tight end to the flat on the opposite side of Jermaine Johnson. And he finds a way to hustle his you-know-what over and make that stop before that tight end gets the first down. And ultimately, Florida State gets the ball back and they win the game. So he affects the game in multiple ways. And I think he'd be a great fit for this team moving forward.
I like it. What do you have, Andrew?
We all know how much we love Jermaine Johnson on this podcast. That's no secret. I will want to say for the people listening, the way we are deciding who is available in terms of players and the big board overall, we are using the NFL mock draft database.com consensus big board, which compiles basically hundreds and hundreds of mock drafts and big boards and rankings from everybody all over the web, into one website and one aggregate ranking of averages of where each player stands all the way throughout the course of the draft. So the first three players that we had on this big board that we're considering off the board were Aiden Hutchinson, Kayvon Thibodeau, and Evan Neal. So Ike Mekwonu is on the board. We have Ahmad Gardner on the board, Travon Walker, Jermaine Johnson, as James said. A lot of options, a lot of definite possibilities for the Jets, but if you guys think I'm saying anything other than Jermaine Johnson, you don't know who I am. With Kayvon Thibodeau off the board, and the Jets needed edge rusher. As we know how I feel about the fit with the corners at the top of the class and how I don't really think they fit the Jets scheme or what Robert Saleh really likes or really think they value that position that highly in the draft anyway, and how perfect of a fit Jermaine Johnson is for this scheme, how perfect of a pairing he is opposite Carl Lawson, how much better he's going to help the Jets, not only in the pass rush, but in run defense, his attitude. I'm not worried about his age. I'm not worried about the analytics because every time I turn on the tape with him, all I do is see him destroying offensive tackles quickly. And so my eyes say this is going to be a premier edge rusher in the NFL, a perennial 10 sack a year player. And I have no issues whatsoever about taking him 4th overall. So this is a unanimous decision, in my opinion. Jermaine Johnson.
I agree. I think we have a consensus amongst us. We're going to go with Jermaine Johnson, pick 4. I love everything you guys said and more. I know that a lot of people are going to say, oh, wait, but maybe we can wait till 10 to get him. But who would take that chance? If he's the guy you want, take him. don't even risk it. You never know what could happen between pick 4 and pick 10. There's no reason to chance it at all. Take him now.
And on our board, to be fair, on our mock draft database big board, as it stands right now, because it is updated in real time, but as it stands right now, Jermaine Johnson is currently listed as 11. So in theory, he would be available at 10th overall. However, I think when we get to the actual draft and really just in terms of how the teams that are ahead of the Jets at 10 operate, I don't think he gets past Seattle at 9. So I really don't think you can risk passing on him here at 4 overall if you want an edge rusher and if you really value Jermaine Johnson's skills and his fit. I really don't see any other way to go about doing this.
Agreed.
Right.
James, anything to add on Jermaine?
Yeah, no, I mean, and listen, that, I think that what I was pointing to the analytic wise, that one that's circulating that he basically doesn't get to the quarterback within a certain amount of time, et cetera. I mean, he's got the get off. I mean, 1.59 in a 10-yard split that's special at that point. It's special.
97th percentile for edge rushers.
Right.
Yeah.
And he fits the mold physically too, right? The 6'5", the 254 for that 4.3. Obviously he
34-inch arms.
Yep. And he's got the sideline to sideline speed. He can run down, those jet sweeps, whatever it might be. And kind of to add to the numbers thing, I think a piece of it too, and I think, Matt, I've seen you allude to it before too, is kind of what he's almost asked to do. And if the opposing offense put a tight end on his side and he's lined up somewhere in between that tight end, he's a tight end and the tackle there. He actually gets up and he's in almost a square 2-point stance. So he's preparing for that, that tight end to block down that double team to come. So he's kind of in a different position, throughout different points of the game, despite being, someone who does have his hand in the dirt a lot as well. So I think he's got some, some ability there, obviously, in the run game. And it's not all just percentages that we're working with here.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. A lot of these metrics don't have the context that you really want to get the full picture of everything. And there's no perfect metric that will predict anything. So I appreciate the people doing the deep dive to really get in the nitty-gritty of the numbers. But at the same time, it's all just a tool that you have to use alongside the tape. You need that context to really put everything into picture for everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Numbers don't tell the whole story, just like tape doesn't always tell the whole story. It's a blend of everything, and you have to take everything in context and see what values more and what you trust more. And if analytics say one thing, does the tape say something else? That's always the question. Let's go ahead and move on to the 10th overall pick here. I'm going to run through the players that are no longer going to be available in between pick 4 and pick 10, so we know who's off the board. Travon Walker is going to be off the board. Ahmad Gardner is going to be off the board. Kyle Hamilton is going to be off the board. Derek Stingley is going to be off the board. And Charles Cross is going to be off the board, as well as Jermaine Johnson, since he was chosen 4th overall, just with how the rankings are going. So all of the wide receivers are available. I think that's definitely an option where it's likely the Jets could be turning to. James, I'm going to go ahead and toss things to you as general manager in this spot with the 10th overall pick. What are you looking for?
All right, so we've got our dynamic playmaker along the trenches. I need that dynamic playmaker that's going to create separation for our young quarterback, add to this wide receiver room. So for me here, I'm really looking to add to this wide receiver room, given the fact that we just ultimately added to our edge position here. So what do you guys got for me?
Matt, I'll let you start.
All right. I have a feeling I know who you're going to pick. Just to throw some contrast out there, I'm going to go with Garrett Wilson of Ohio State. We know that he's a premier route runner. We know that he can make the tough catches. And unlike maybe a teammate of his, I think he has a little bit better yards after catch ability. And I think that's going to really play into how JD looks at this position. he wants speed. He went after Hill, so we know he wants that speed. But he wants somebody that can really get open. And even though his teammate Olave can get open, what happens when there isn't that opening? What happens when you do need him to make that tough catch? I believe that Wilson is just a little bit better at going up and get it, a little bit better at high pointing, a little bit better at attacking the catch point. Olave is pretty good in contested catches, but I wouldn't say he is the kind of guy that's going to make that contested catch over top a defender. He's got strong hands to go up, bring it in away from his frame. He's the guy I think would be the better receiver going forward for Zach Wilson to develop around.
Yeah, I like Garrett Wilson a lot. I could definitely see him as a potential option. And I can understand what you're saying about his body control and his go up and get it is a little better than Chris Olave, and I don't necessarily disagree with that. But I'm actually not gonna submit Chris Olave.
Ooh.
I'm gonna submit Jameson Williams. Because when I'm thinking about the future of the Jets and down the road, more so than just immediately this season and immediately this next coming year or week one. And I'm thinking years down the line and players that are really going to be able to grow and have a ceiling and a potential that the Jets haven't had in a long time. I really like Jameson Williams' ceiling. I really like the fit with him and Elijah Moore, like I've talked about with getting a speedy receiver and having the two of them paired on the same field in bunch formations and stack sets and daring defenses to bring a safety into the box because it's just going to be a track meet and having one guy deep is not going to be enough. Jameson Williams, more so than anybody else in this draft, brings that element. And I really think that element combined with Zach Wilson's arm is what makes this such a dangerous potential offense. You're going to have the ideal Jets offense be 12 personnel based, and you're going to have two receivers on the field with two tight ends. And those two receivers are going to be Jameson Williams and Elijah Moore. You cannot bring a safety into the box to stop the run with those two tight ends because one of those two guys on either side is going to be screaming down the field always. And you're not going to know who's going deep on which play. On other times, you could have the two tight ends to one side of the field and you could stack Elijah Moore and Jameson Williams in a bunch set and give them free releases off the line, let them run switch routes down the field, let them rub off of each other and create natural separation that way. And Zach Wilson's arm is going to be able to get it to them as deep down the field as he wants. They're going to be able to run under it. It's not going to be a situation where you have these guys that are capable of getting open 45, 50 yards down the field and you don't have a quarterback that can take advantage. Zach Wilson is what makes this the pick to me. If this was any other quarterback that we had, I would probably say Chris Olave because I love his ability as a technician. I love his ability in route running. I love his consistent hands, his ball tracking, all of that. He's my number one wide receiver, and I'm perfectly fine with that. But for the Jets in particular and what I think this offense needs and the potential of what it can become, I think I'm going to go Jameson Williams. I'm going to bet on his recovery happening soon enough. And even if he doesn't play until October, so be it. A year from now, he's going to be a superstar, and the Jets offense is going to be unstoppable. So give me Jameson Williams.
Threw a curveball at me.
I knew you would expect me to pick Olave. Yeah.
All right. Well, both excellent cases. I am of the opinion that the wide receiver class, especially in that top 3 or 4 there, it's a lot of flavor, right? What exactly are you looking for there? Garrett Wilson, you can make, and Matt, you made an excellent case for him. I am going to make the pick Jameson Williams. And the reason being is that ultimately, I think it's time for the Jets to have a talent that can actually strike some fear in a defense, right? You put them in a bind. You put them in a bind to where we have that route running ability with more. And it's not to say Jameson Williams can't run routes. I do think it is an area that he can get better out at. But I think we did see also two different Jameson Williams pre John Mechie ACL injury and then post John Mechie ACL injury. When John Mechie was on the field for Alabama, he was the technician, right? He was the guy that if Bryce Young needed to get the ball out, he needed a first down, he was probably going to go to John Mechie. But when the time came for a big play, when they were looking to take the top off of the defense, it was going to be Jameson Williams. And so ultimately then John Mechie goes down. So now what? And against Cincinnati, Jameson Williams kind of turned into the John Mechie. He was the guy that Bryce Young was looking to get the ball out quick. He was able to sit and find the open holes in the zone coverage, which Cincinnati ran a lot of that game there. And ultimately, he was able to sit there, look comfortable, make catches, and be almost a safety blanket. So I think he provides a ton of upside in just being more than the downfield threat, the straight line speed. I think obviously that's his strong point, but I do think there is more that he can unlock in his game, especially if he's in a room with Elijah Moore. Even though they're pretty similar in age, I think he could learn a lot from Elijah Moore. And ultimately, you can also have some versatility in where you line up Jameson Williams. Mike LaFleur can get creative with using him in motion as well. Those jet sweeps, those reverses, whatever Mike LaFleur kind of comes up with. We saw him be creative at the end of the year. So ultimately, Jameson Williams for me is the pick because I think the dynamic ability that he presents, the bind that he presents for the defense is something the Jets just have not had in a long time. And it's time to add that with the quarterback that they now have, like Andrew mentioned before.
Yeah, I'm all for it. I think it's a perfect fit, and I totally agree with what you said, that he has the capability to become more than just a deep threat. He can be a functional X receiver that runs routes and goes over the middle and is reliable and also happens to have lightning fast speed. And right. I really think that ability with him in the future is like why this is the perfect pick. Matt, anything else to add on Jameson Williams or defend Garrett Wilson or anything else?
Yeah, I mean, Jay Will makes a lot of sense, especially since we picked up two great tight ends, which leads me to believe that we're going to run a lot more two tight end sets, which lessens the need for him to be out on the field right away. So he can heal up and come back nice and healthy and be an extra weapon down the stretch.
Yeah, I think that's going to be what we're all hoping. And even if his rookie year isn't necessarily amazing, blow the doors off anybody, his year two is going to be that in spades. So
right.
I think it makes a ton of sense.